2016 Land Development Code ordinance to amend requirements for applicants to attend a technical advisory committee meeting allowing exemptions for compliant projects and minor variances. Also change to definition of minor subdivision and subdivision fee structure.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll try to be quick about this. So for consideration by the planning board is one ordinance amendment that does a few things that are not entirely related, but we're trying to do some ordinance cleanup here. So first is to allow certain projects with, so we're looking to exempt fully conforming projects, major site plans, minor subdivisions, as long as they're not major developments under the storm water control ordinance. So it wouldn't exempt really very big projects. I think the stormwater control ordinance takes over at a half acre or greater automatically. Also allowing projects with very de minimis variances to just skip that part of the process and just come to the board to have their hearing and have the board determination rather than delay the process by multiple months. There's many cases where an applicant might have wanted to open up a store or a restaurant or some kind of small establishment like that. And just the fact that the process would add another potential 3 to 6 months to their process was sort of like a non-starter. And so to just sort of get a little bit out of the way on marginal edge cases and let them come here and let the zoning board as applicable to have their fate decided rather than extra steps, we would look to make that change. Further, for the subdivisions, so one of the things is that we didn't feel that minor subdivision applications should be allowed to have variances. We felt that that should require the application to be considered a major subdivision, as is typical for site plans where you can't have really a minor site plan with a variance. We didn't think you should be able to have a minor subdivision with a variance, and we technically just did that at the last meeting, which is sort of what kind of popped the light bulb for this to clean up the ordinance to preclude that. That said, the subdivision process is basically the same for major and minor. You're splitting land into smaller lots. If it's a minor and it conforms with the provisions of the code, it's a minor, otherwise it's a major, but the review process is essentially identical. The review work is essentially identical, which is why the application fees were revisited and increased marginally, and also increased to be sufficient to cover the costs for the escrow work for planning and engineering reviews and other professional fees for subdivisions. It sort of creates a more uniform ordinance and cleans up the minor and major deviations, but also allows that as long as there is no particular provision like a planned development or a new street or variance, that any amount of subdivision split could be a minor. Generally, it's not going to be universally applicable. Most of our minor subdivisions or major subdivisions, all subdivisions in New Brunswick, with rare exception, are infill development or splitting of existing developed lots. It's not typical to what you might see in more suburban or ex-urban community where you've got maybe conversion of farmland or green space into subdivision of a couple of hundred houses. The closest thing that we did to something like that is with the Sears townhomes, which are even still technically a little bit different because they don't have their own little subdivided lots necessarily. And that's kind of the whole thing there. Sure. I mean, actually, that's for you to call on him if Bob has questions.
Oh, Bob, you have a question?
I do.
Sure, go ahead.
Regarding the fees, does anyone else approve these fees, or is this it?
This goes from here, should the board act favorably. I mean, even if the board didn't act favorably, I think we could still proceed. It goes to the, I think it goes to City Council, who is the one who would adopt this as law. This is for review and report and recommendation.
Dan, where are these fees in accordance with other towns around us? Similar?
We are relatively low in terms of escrow rates relative to other towns. And so this kind of balances it out a little bit for the subdivision, and because the fee structure is based on the amount of lots created, the more there is to review, it sort of scales up in proportional to that. And the application fees are a modest increase over what they were.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on the board? I have to open it to the public, correct?
Yeah, you should.
Okay. Any member of the public have any comments on this? Come forward. Charlie, come forward, please.
Good evening, Charlie Cradaville, New Brunswick today.
Sorry, I do want to swear you in, but is it cool if you come around here just to be closer to the...
Of course. Let me just make sure I'm on camera. Pardon me, folks. Good evening, Charlie Cradaville, New Brunswick today.
Can you spell your last name for the record?
Kratovil.
Do you swear or tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Maybe a couple questions and then a suggestion. I wanted to ask, the end result of this, if approved, would be that more matters would be referred to the TAC, the Technical Advisory Committee, without having to go to the board?
No, the opposite.
Okay.
That they would, in minor cases, that they would be able to skip the TAC and come right to the board.
I see. I guess I'm confused. I thought the TAC was always involved. Is that the case now? But
it is. Well, this is to say, for these projects, if you're fully conforming or if you have some de minimis variance, you don't have to go to the TAC.
got it. But you still have to go to the board.
Well, yeah, the board is the entity that makes the final determination. So if you have something small, rather than waste everyone's time in reports and reviews, just have your reviews and your reports and have your hearing for your small thing.
Okay, so it'd still be a public hearing?
Yes, absolutely.
We're not talking about administrative?
No.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate it. Nevertheless, my suggestion might still be of interest to you. There was some vagary about the TAC meetings and whether or not they were open to the public. I believe in 2019, around the time Mr. Dominguez took over, I raised the issue. The board attorney had suggested at the time, well, Charlie, why don't you go to the TAC meetings if you want to find out about projects earlier on in the process? And I did attend and even record a couple of them. And then the board attorney changed his mind, and the meetings that were once public briefly became no longer public. How does this board feel about that? Would you like to have the TAC be public? Have you put that in your recommendations to the council to make the TAC meetings be public? Why not, if not?
The purpose of the TAC meeting, just so we all are on the same page, is to go over technical aspects of the application, to basically clean it up and fine tune it for the board's consideration. The advantage to the public input at a public hearing is obvious. There is no advantage to public layperson's input at a technical review meeting. We want to hear from the engineers. We want the engineers to be able to speak to each other about changes that perhaps need to be made to the plans. We want to talk to them about the need for a planner, perhaps the necessary testimony that they may need. Maybe the planner might also have some suggestions about some changes they need to make technically to the application, but there's no room or no need for the public to participate in a technical review meeting.
Thank you.
Board members, with all due respect, Mr. Solomon is confused about what I'm suggesting. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. I'm not asking for there to be a public comment opportunity or a chance for members of the public to attend and speak at the meetings. I'm just asking that the public be able to witness what occurs there and potentially record what goes on there. What's the harm in that? Why not allow the public to see these discussions that are technical?
For the same reason,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
for the very same reason that you wouldn't be participating in the meeting between an applicant and his attorney, or the applicant and his engineer. It has nothing to do with you.
Well, what is the reason?
That it's none of your business.
It's none of my business?
Yeah.
It's none of my business that
Your
a
business is
subcommittee of this board is going to get together and ask questions with the professionals of the applicant? Why isn't that my business?
Because your opportunity to be informed and aware and made more details of the project are here in the public meeting, like you're doing right now.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm taken aback by this notion that it's not our business. The TAC matters are public matters. They're applications that are on their way to this board. The TAC is a subcommittee of this board. Frankly, I don't understand what you have to hide. If the TAC members, are discussing confidential matters, that's one thing. But they're technical matters, right? They're not confidential. This isn't attorney-client privilege matters. You're conflating two different things.
You are misrepresenting what I said.
Please, enlighten me.
It's not a matter of privilege or a matter of secrecy. It's just that there's no reason for the public to be part of those meetings. I believe that there are towns that do make those meetings public.
Exactly.
So it's not like it's the law, but you and I can agree on that fact. But many towns, the city included, have made the decision that there's no reason for them to be made public. I might also point out that it's not a matter of hiding anything. You're putting words in my mouth. The issue is that half of the time when we had a TAC meeting, a good percentage of those applications never even make it to the board because they flame out for one reason or another. What would be the reason for the general public to witness that? It's not a reality show.
Transparency, that would be the reason.
That's what the board hearing is for.
I would appreciate more transparency, and I think, you made a great point when you noted that other towns do allow the public to witness their technical advisory committee meetings. I know Edison, for one, does, and I don't see why New Brunswick should be less transparent than Edison. Hope you'll consider my recommendation and take it to heart. Surely some of you must agree with me that we need better transparency in New Brunswick.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, close the public portion. Nothing else, right then, we just ask for a motion?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
Is this one or two? Okay.
Wait, it's one ordinance
One
that
ordinance,
combines
so
everything.
one motion.
Motion.
I'll second.
Bill Pacheco?
Yes.
Billy Melendez?
Yes.
Ms. Corley?
Yes.
Alex Soros?
Yes.
Mike Blackwell?
Yes.
Michael Manini?
Yes.
Matt Cardigan?
Yes.
John Cox?
Yes.
Thank you.
Other matters of interest to the public? Anyone from the public have any questions, comments on anything? Please come forward. Don't be shy.
Yeah, others feel free to speak.
Just follow Charlie, please. He's never shy.
I appreciate you giving me the chance to talk about general matters. First, I'd like to raise to your attention a public meeting that's coming up on March 24th. I believe it's across the street. Apparently, there's a draft preliminary state development and redevelopment plan. And on March 24th at 6 p.m., there will be a public meeting on that draft plan. And it's my understanding that Middlesex County is playing a special role in the state planning process. I'm just sort of repeating what I heard at the county planning board meeting and the county commissioners meeting, but I feel like it makes good sense for the local planning boards to be informed and involved about that same process. Is there anybody here, maybe Mr. Dominguez, who can share a little bit if you're aware of this state planning process?
I'm aware that it's happening. I've taken a quick pass at the draft state plan. I thought it was pretty good in its iteration when I looked at it. I want to say in January, December, sometime around then. It's hard to keep track of time. They've added some very cool tools for making sort of observations about areas that are ideal for development. They made like a mapping software tool that I thought was particularly interesting. I thought the meeting was last month, but maybe I saw in my calendar the wrong date. You're probably right that it is this month, but I thought it was last month. It also happens to be when we have our zoning board this month, so at the same time. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that, the old state plan has served us well, but it's also been right time to make modifications to it, and I'm happy that it's underway, but I don't have anything more meaningful to add at this time.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks for sharing your thoughts on it. I do think it's obviously a big deal, an important thing. I'm glad for one that Middlesex County got involved and chose to be a part of what's called the cross-acceptance process. because that means it'll be easier for those of us that live in New Brunswick to come to that meeting and speak on that plan. I know maybe you won't be available because you've got another zoning board meeting that night, but definitely something to watch for, and I'll try to be there with my camera, and just like tonight, share the video out on the New Brunswick Today YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?